Yo, Jake,
Hey.
what have you got for us?
So this is the almost winning giant card, Mekk-Knight Invoked list. So as per usual, I ran the meta deck in the main event, didn't do anything with it, entered a side event, did really well with this. Came second, again. That's just
So damn close.
what I do. Like the matchups were a bit all over the place. Like realistically, the only meta one was the last one, which was Sky Shocker Orchest. Otherwise, it was like a random Dino deck, Crusadia, Subterra Control, and Mystic Mine, and Cyber Dragon August. The latter of the two were people that were friends with Tom from the channel was doing Mystic Mine. And for the most part, I think it did fairly well. Probably tweaks here and there, but I think it did okay.
Nice. Let's get into it.
Alright, so main deck, obviously it's Invoked. We got 3 of the Alistair. Then we have 3 Phantasme.
Oh.
This is obviously to fix hands. The targeting and stuff is good, but at the same time, this deck has a mad problem maintaining resources. So ideally, you'd like to not have to use that effect if you don't have to. And then thirdly, he's a dark type. So if you're going first, he's always a good target for Kaliga, which we'll get into later on. We have 3 purple, 3 blue, 1 red, 1 indigo. So 3 blue was a mistake, and I don't mean looking back on it, I wish I had a different ratio. It literally wasn't meant to be there. I thought I only brought 2, and I've only realised now when I'm sorting out the cards that there's 3. You don't need it. Because there's so few Mekk-Knights in the deck, the third blue rarely happens. In a pure build, sure, but not in this. And yeah, a lot of builds used to run yellow rather than red, but being that you've now got Nibiru running around, you need to be able to out a massive Nibiru token where it's sort of going to come up. So red's definitely more critical to have. And then Shifty. Level 8 moves itself around the board so you can summon more Mekk-Knights. Standard. Hand traps, we have 2 Ash Blossom. That is mainly because I couldn't find the third. That would be what the other blue would be if I could find my third Ash Blossom. I have no idea where it is.
This is so sad. You could have taken on my feet one.
No.
I'm
I'm glad I lost. If it came down to me having an Ash Blossom with feet or losing, I'm happy I lost. Then we have 3 Nibiru in the main, going second deck. You also manipulate what cards are in what column when you summon the token as well. So yeah, very good going second card. And it's a light type, so if all else fails, that's a Macabre target. Alright, and hand traps as well, I guess 3 impermanents.
Oh, wow.
Mainly because like it's nice as having effect valor for light types engraved would be. You also don't want it to get called by, so impermanence it is. Then we have 2 meltdowns, and where is it? Thingy somewhere. 1 terraforming. Main reason for this is because that helps you set up zones for Mekk-Knights. And yeah, having too many field spells sometimes is a brick. So yeah. Then we have 3 mind control because stealing opponents' things is pog. Then we have 3 clawby because you want your combos to happen. 3 super poly because it's a fusion deck. It's good both offensively and defensively. Like I OTK'd the Cyber Dragon player with this, just using stuff I already had on board just to put the damage through. 3 Invocation because you're playing Pot of Desires. You can't risk...
Look at these flexes.
A little bit. So you can't risk banishing too many of your invocations with desires, so you need to run max. Case in point, multiple times a day, I'd already searched 1, but then my Pot of Desires had banished the other 2. So then it was running very risky. And it probably did manipulate the way I played the deck as well, knowing that it was my only Alistair, and that if it got blocked, I was in big trouble. But for the most part, it was fine. Then you have 2 Galaxy Cyclones. Is that what they're called? Yeah. So the reason for that is setting up zones for Mekk-Knights, because using Cosmic Cyclone and stuff would have been great, but it's a quick play, so it doesn't allow you to set up columns for Mekk-Knights. And being able to banish the next turn to pop floodgates and stuff came up once or twice as well. So yeah, that's fine. And better than Twisters in some regards with this particular deck, mainly because resource management. Then Monster Reborn and Book of the Law. So both come up in this deck. Against the Dino player, I reborned his Pancratops to pop one of his monsters so I could get damage on board for game. And that always comes up, again, both offensively and defensively for the OTK and to dodge like random destruction and stuff like that. Alright, extra deck. We have 2 Macabre, 1 Purgatrio, 1 Caliga, and 1 Elysium for the Invoked lineup. If I had space, I'd like to run more, but that's just the way it is. So Macabre's Macabre, negates things. Purgatrio is mainly your big body for whacking things. Caliga's like your game 1 or your turn 1 play. So just setting this up in defense means that a lot of decks just can't combo off because they're so monster oriented, because you get to pick 1 monster effect, and even if it gets negated, that's it for the turn, and 1 attack. So being that obviously you've used Alistair for the summon and you've brought it back to hand most times, its effect is effectively 28. So even if they do manage to get a big body on board, you can usually defend it, which means they've then wasted their attack, and depending on where they are in their combo, they've also wasted their monster effect, so there's not a lot more they can do from there. Elysium is great both to use as just like a general play, also very good as a super poly target. And yeah, the Sky Striker August player I was versing last, he was very confused about a card. He'd never seen it before, because on field it's every type. So basically it becomes Zero Boris on field to an extent. Just banishes all monsters of the same type, of which it's all types. And yeah, she thick. I'm assuming it's a thing. I don't think it actually has a gender, but it's fine.
It's a ship, so it's a she.
Then we go to a couple of super poly targets. We got Starving Venom and whatever this thing's called, Duplex Chimera. The reason I went that over Salad is because it's just a little bit more generic, covers a bit more matchups. Didn't play Salad all day, so it didn't end up really mattering that much. And then that's obviously for Orcust and those kinds of decks. And being a level 8 comes into play in a second. Almirage for setting up Alistair and getting a Fire and Grave early if you need
MVP.
A little bit. Nightmare Phoenix.
You used that a few times when I was watching you.
I used it so much. Yeah, just linking, doing stuff. Alistair's Invoker enables OGKs, gives you a second Alistair target if you feel like you're either going to get Lanceiad or they're going to banish your Engrave Alistair. So it means that you've still got fusion plays to do if you make him first. Then you've got the Mekk-Knight Morningstar. This actually came up in a very interesting point when I was versing the Crusadia player, because he made Mekk-Knight Avramax. So I had to use a lot of my resources to make Borreload to steal it rather than get rid of it, because Avramax is obviously very hard to out. And if I'd let it go to field with Borreload, go to grave with Borreload's effect, I would have lost a card on field as well. So I had to link 2 rank 4s to make this, because it's a Mekk-Knight card, just so that I could play around that effect. Which felt real bad, but then I set up Caliga as well just beforehand, so yeah, that was very good. Then we have Unicorn, obviously just getting rid of things.
Yeah.
Borreload and Boral Sword. I had the space for both. Didn't summon Borreload this weekend, but yeah, Borreload came up obviously. And then we have Dingrizu.
Ah, yes.
So-
Mind control.
Well, yeah, the ideal way to make it would have been to mind control like a Galatea or a Longarizu and then Xyz over it.
Yeah.
But the deck can naturally do it using a purple and indigo.
Ooh.
So you can hard make Dingrizu if need be.
You've done that on
I did that to the Subterra player, and he was not expecting it, and it was hilarious. And then we move into the side. So 3 Lancia to cover the Orcus matchup.
Yep.
3 Crackdown, that's to cover going first. So if you set up Kaliga and you see that they're sort of setting up to do a particular link play or something like that, just steal their stuff. I've done that at locals many a time, particularly against Salad. Like if they summon something early on, if they're limited to 1 monster effect, they can't really pop off if you steal a monster early. This is where the side gets a bit weird. 2 Lost Win.
Ooh.
This was purely because I needed 2 more cards. So I grabbed 2 more cards. It was really random. The only matchup that I really ever had it in was against Subterra, and it was a terrible, terrible choice. Should never have been in the deck. Then we've got 3 Twin.
Yep.
And 3 Heavy Storm Duster.
Oh, wow.
Only because I felt like it was going to be... Like, I knew at some point in there it was going to be a heavy back row deck.
A few Altergeist players scrubbing from the main event.
Well, yeah, Altergeist, Orcus to an extent as well. Like being able to pop all their Sky Striker spell and traps is important. And I wanted to be able to cover myself going first and second.
Yep.
Twisters came into play once, but I was only able to pop 1 back row. And thinking back on it, it lost me a card in hand, which then lost me the game because I didn't have enough resources to continue popping off. But what can you do? The only time that I ever saw the Heavy Storm was against the Subterra player, and it was the first card that Cosmic, so it was a real feels bad. And then lastly, again to cover a couple of the matchups was Soul Drain.
Yeah.
None of the...
Oh, I thought I counted 15.
No. So that one covers Salad and Orcus, just blocks them off from graveyard. I don't have any monster effects at activating grave, so I don't particularly care about anything else. And yeah, that is about it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Click the bell.